This is the continuation of the development of Bottle 2. In our last tutorial, we created the surfaces and trim split them. So we have all four of these and they're trimmed and ready to be stitched. So there's no top or bottom, it's just the four surfaces and they are separate right now. So if we select all of them and we go to our stitch tool under the modify section and just click in space. So now all those edges, those four surfaces are all one part now. And when we do that and we extract the line work from the top and the bottom, it will make that a surface. So let me show you how that works. So I want to select these lines. I can do that with the lasso tool. It's going to go like this. I'm selecting lines. And I'm going to move one copy. So when I move, oops, that was rotate. When I move one copy, you can see it now turns into a surface. And that's what we want. And it does that is because all four of these surfaces were stitched, so it's connected. So I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. I know there are the four lines down there, so I'm just going to go like this to select them all. And it can be helpful to see through. So there they are. Move one copy. And again, we can go back to our gray view. We can see that those are all connected. So now I want to put them back and stitch them to the rest of this and make this a solid. So now they are objects. We don't want to have them as, you don't want to select them as segments. You want to go back to our object selection. So I'm just going to select that. I'm going to move, make sure I'm snapping. So I'm going to snap to this point, which it's not doing. Why is that not snap? Oh. Move. Okay, here we go. It wasn't snapping. I just want to move one. Okay. So that's very important to keep track of those. Sometimes you do something wrong. You want to make sure that we're snapped. So I'm holding this surface by that point. I want to make sure that gets right on there. Grab this bottom one, move, snapping to that front point, get that on there. Okay, so now I have the big surface and I have the top and the bottom. So I know that that's there. So I'm just going to lasso the whole thing and I'm going to stitch again. Now this should be a solid, so I'm going to click on this and then go to our inspector. And under info, it'll tell me it's a solid. So we're in good shape. And then we can also take a look at the shader and see that it's completely closed. Okay, now we're going to work out some radiuses on these edges. As you can see, I have all the edges radiused on the sample on the left. There's many ways to do this. You can select individual radiuses, groups of radiuses, and you can combine different radius solutions. I'm going to select these four corners and make them very soft, or softer than the other radius on the front. So I have all four of those selected. I think I did, I'm going under just regular rounding. I think I did 0.5. Let's see if that looks right, just on those corners. Yeah, that looks about right. So that looks good. So now that I did that, I can select this entire string of lines right up front here. I can do them individually with the line tool and go around and select them. You can also go to this next tool here where it says segment sequence. It can be a little easier. There's only a few here, but sometimes it can get to be a lot. So I'm going to select on that, which is that whole sequence across the front. And I'm going to do that on the back. So with those selected, I'm going to radius those. Now I want those to be a little bit tighter than this 1/2 inch. So let's try 1/4. See if that's what I did. That looks right. So now we have that exact sequence right there with our nice radius edge. The next step is we're going to create the closure. Let's see, my circle radius here. Yes, it is. So all I did, I'm going to get rid of parts that I did. Just backing up here a little so we can take a look at these. So all I have is I brought that bottle over, that's radius and ready to go. All I'm going to do is just slice off a piece of this shape and make that my closure, because on this particular design, I'm going to make the closure integrated. Instead of a separate cap that sits on top, it will be integrated with the form of the bottle. So I'm just going to bring this forward into this next layer. I call it closure and volume check. So if we look at this from the front view, go to line, I just created this arc. Couple ways to do this. This one way I did that, I'm just snapping on some geometry that I have here that I trust. Like I think these 2 points here look pretty good. So I'm going to click with my line tool in 2-dimension. And I'm just going to deselect my horizontal to make sure that it's going to snap right to that point. And I'm just making an arc tool. And then all I did was I just took that, moved it around, scaled it, and sort of made this arc. It's kind of just a design decision at this point. So once I made that arc and got it into position, and I like it, I have it extending a little bit beyond here, so I don't have to worry about if I'm too close. So we'll now trim split with line. And I want that cap and I want the bottle. So I'm going to trim twice. So I'm going to trim with line. And here I'm going to stitch. I want to maintain my solids. I don't want to trim this and have it open to a surface. So let's grab the bottom below this line, click on our line, so that now we have the bottom, which is the bottle shape. And our surface is completely clean at the top. Let's go back to line. I want to unghost the entire shape again, because I want to trim just the cap. So I'm going to unghost that. I'm going to unghost my trim line. And now I'm going to do trim with line again and stitch. But I'm going to grab the top, select the top, because it's the part I want to keep. And then I'm going to select my line. So now I have both parts. Put that seam in. I'm just going to just make this a little different color, just so we can see what we have. So we have the cap and the bottom. Those are both solids. So I'm going to do a volume check. This can be done at any time. Just to check that since I split this and I have this bottom part ready to go. So with volume check, since we're going to be doing a blow molded bottle, I need to allow a little bit for the thickness. I'm not doing the fill level yet. I want to get a read on how big this is. So I'm going to offset this. And that's under the derive tool. There's thicken and then there's offset. Offset just means I'm going to shrink or enlarge this bottle by a specific thickness in all axes. So for a polyethylene bottle, you know, it might be like a 35 thousandths wall. So let's do negative 0.40. No, 0. I'm sorry, negative 0.40. It's a very small amount, but it all adds up with the entire bottle. So what I'm trying to do is have a piece of geometry which will represent the internal volume of a blow molded bottle. So I'm going to select that and just click in space, and it'll be very subtle. Oops, not so subtle. I had that at the run. I have it at 0.4. So this is supposed to be 0.04. And I want it negative. Negative 0.04. There we go. Okay. See, I just went in just a little bit. So that would represent the thickness of a blow molded bottle, approximately at this point. So now this geometry I have standing here is a solid, and I can check its volume. So I'm going to click on that, go down to where the ruler is, and if you come over to mass properties, just click on the tool, and this crosshatch area will come up, and we have all these things that we could evaluate. So under, let's see, cubic feet, I believe they have liter. So we have 694 milliliters for that particular volume. So I'm not doing anything specific at this point, but if I was to check this, I would be able to determine, what the volume of this bottle would be. So I think that's just a little under 24 ounces or so. So if it wasn't quite right, I could go back and make adjustments because I have all those layers. I could go back, make it a little bit taller, maybe a little thicker, or do something to it to make that modification until I get it right. So now I can have the dimensions under control and the volumetrics at the same time. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial, and we'll continue with this bottle in later tutorials.